The NFL Draft is headed to Detroit. In to talk about what we can expect on ESPN's telecast is Tim Reed, VP Programming and Acquisitions. Tim, thanks for joining the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
So, this is now the 10th NFL Draft since the league took the show on the road. That includes a year at Roger Goodell's basement with Bill Belichick's dog and Cliff Kingsbury's baller Arizona house back in 2020. But how big has the draft become as an event since they took it on the road?
It's a massive production. So when they roll into the city again, I've been to Vegas and then KC last year, and now obviously looking forward to getting Detroit. Working off of Vegas and KC is my background. You can see again, it just takes over the whole big part of the city. It's definitely the big event, and when you think about the amount of production that comes in, not only ours but NFL Network together, the NFL, the league, like it's a major tentpole event. And it obviously brings in a ton of people to the city too. I mean, Kansas City last year, like huge viewing area, tons of fans. So you can see just the amount of infrastructure that's put in place. It's a big deal. It's a big event.
Yeah, I remember Brian Perez, who's CEO of Access, just told us from a ticketing standpoint, it's become a marquee event that they can sell against. So it was interesting to hear that as well. There are a number of popular big market teams at the top of the draft this year. Your Giants, Patriots, Bears, and they're all eyeing marquee skill position talent, especially at the QB spot. So how much does that focus on quarterbacks drive the draft's audience for that first night, year in and year out?
Quarterbacks are a big part of it, like you said. Again, that's what drives a ton of the fan interest right off the bat. And especially like this year too, where you have, arguably what, six, being discussed, and whether six will go in the first round or not. And, the fact, it's become such a year-round conversation. Like when you think about Caleb, Justin Fields going to the Bears, and, eventually they end up trading them. So now it moves on to, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. The quarterback piece is such a huge part of it. And then also, like when we're talking about the big markets, like we are, Chicago, New England, New York, like, the combination of those two, I got to think will drive a ton of interest with on night one, see where everybody lands.
Tim, obviously this is a multicast affair for you all. What is the target fan for the telecast on ESPN versus the target audience on ABC on Thursday night?
Yeah, it's definitely multifaceted. So on ESPN, there's a probably, you think of it more as like an avid fan where they're going to be diving in. Our town will be diving in more the X's and O's, getting a little more deep on the analytics. Where on the ABC side, probably a little bit more casual, just in terms of personalized stories. And then even this year, kind of another leg to all of this is the McAfee Draft Spectacular, which obviously going on YouTube and on ESPN Plus, is targeting obviously like a little bit of a younger audience that's living on those platforms too.
Was there any consideration to doing the Pat McAfee show on the Deuce on Thursday?
Knowing we've done a social show the last couple of years, I think this year the decision was made to just focus on the YouTube and ESPN Plus. But again, we'll see how it all does this year. And again, with Bill Belichick being included in that, I got to think, it'll drive a fair amount of audience, and should be really interesting to watch.
You already talked about Bill Belichick coming on. Another guy making his debut on the draft, Nick Saban. He's done some analyst work around games for you all, but what has the conversation been like in getting him ready for this event?
I think it's going to be great to add his expertise and all his credibility to the broadcast and bringing it to ABC. So again, just a huge addition to not only just the ABC, but the draft coverage in general. And I think, again, like his just knowledge and his expertise, obviously, like, he knows more about football than anybody, knows a lot about the players, familiarity with just having coached many of them. So again, I think he'll be ready. He's going to be a great addition to what we're doing this week.
Well, we talked about the new analysts. We talked about the Pat McAfee show going onto social media and ESPN Plus. But for viewers, are there any other new bells and whistles that they should be expecting this year?
A couple new talent pieces too. Field Yates is stepping up this year, and again, it's been great with him doing all of the mocks from really like December, and all the mock drafts like kicking up. So between him and Mel, but Field like jumping in, having a bigger role, I think is going to be really unique too. And then we're adding Molly McGrath to the broadcast too. So really nice additions, and it should add a lot to the broadcast this weekend.
All right, Tim, last question for you. You're the one that gets to make the decision here. On the top of your bucket list, where would you want to take the NFL draft?
I know we're going to Green Bay next year, and that's going to be, I think a really interesting location. I do like compliment the NFL in the sense of like, maybe there's the cities that can't necessarily host the Super Bowl. So to be able to, I think, bring an event the size and the spectacle that the draft is, I think is like a huge win for all the markets that get it. I don't know why Seattle just jumped out at me as maybe a fun place to do the draft someday.
That's a great NFL market. I think Seattle would be a great spot. A lot of rabid fans there. But, well, we're all going to be watching this weekend. I know most of America is going to be tuned in Thursday, Friday, Saturday across ESPN Airways, ABC. Tim Reed, his third year helming the draft for ESPN. Thanks for joining the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.